Welcome to Battleship Code's Inside the History series. We are at part 2 here on the projectile system video series on USS Massachusetts. We're still with Tom Lowney, gunner's mate, USS Wisconsin, veteran and also a longtime volunteer on Big Mamie here. Tom, now that we described on our last video series this particular area, can you take us inside the annular space of gun number 2, turret number 2, and describe a little bit about what you see in there?
Sure. Go right this way, head out of the magazine, head over to the annular space.
Excellent.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. You're now in what's called the annular space. This is the inner ring that separates the rotating structure from the fixed structure. And as you can see, we have powder passing scuttles here, as well as immersion tanks. Now again, the immersion tank is filled with about 1/3 of water. So if you had a powder bag that was damaged during transport, you don't want to have a problem with loose gunpowder and nitrocellulite. So what would happen was you would immerse the bag in here and have some wet rags to pick up any grains or fine powder because you don't want it to scratch and be ignited. And you would immerse that in here for recovery later. Because in a battle, you don't have time to play Mr. Safety 110%. You need to get it neutralized and returned back to the battle scene. So these powder passing scuttles are set up. This is bronze, this is aluminum. The handle that would be located right here, this would be used by the operator using the annunciator to communicate with the magazine. You would take this drum, rotate it up, there'd be a tray going here, which is gone, unfortunately. That tray would line up and he would stay here and operate the powder. He would roll it in. The other annunciator here is to communicate with the inside, so that way the person on this powder passing scuttle on the outside would go through the same safety protocol so hands don't get damaged or the powder bag get accidentally crushed and opened in mid-cycle. So that way he would operate here and here, communicating between the magazine, annular space, and the powder flat. Now also in here you can see the monorail. Monorail, 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 monorail. Now the monorail is to help bring in ammunition and or parts, mostly ammunition. You'd use a car with a chain fall to move projectiles through, or powder cans. Now the powder cans outside of here would not be for ammunition. This would normally be for your drill ammunition. You could put black powder in here, but then that changes the designation of this to a magazine. So all that drill ammunition that you see would be stored in here. So these cans would be painted differently. Now if you look over on the other side, as you can see that these cans are 2 different sizes. Now, they're both Mark IIIs, okay? But these cans here, this one here, is for the 16-inch 45. These are for the 16-inch 50s. Different length of bag, a little bit more powder. Same principle, same design. So these cans, 50s, 45s. Both Mark III design. Another immersion tank because you have another set of powder passing scuttles to go in. So you have an annunciator here. A little more tighter, the bell is slightly ringing, probably too tight. That way you can communicate both back and forth. Now you hear this, right? Now picture that at each one of these stations on each side, and you hear all these bells going. That's why it's both visual and audible. So that way the person here is focused on his job. He has immersion tank, powder passing scuttles. Same thing here. Monorail goes all the way around. So right here, this is for the inner turret sprinkler system, the fixed system. So if you had a fire inside the turret, like turret 2 did on the Iowa, you could activate the inner turret system electrically from out here to the fixed stowage on the outside. The turret itself on the inside, we can look at that and you can see the difference there. Sound, power, phone, communication box, and there'd be a battle lamp here so we could have some light in case the ship lost power. So there's all different perspectives of things here. Right here, you have a communication 1MC system. This would be the 12MC. 2MC for the turret communication. This allows you to communicate with the turret officer's booth, and they can communicate back to you here at this station. So you'd be able to point sprinkler systems and be able to communicate electrically via PA system throughout the turret to the other stations. A lot of little things inside this annular space that help make this turret work. And then over here, what you see are the sprinkler systems. These are the sprinkler systems that supply the water to the fixed sprinkler systems to the turrets and the shell decks and the powder flats. The inside of the turret and the above are done separately inside the powder flat. That's another story. We'll get into sprinklers another time. And the flask here are for the air systems, to charge the gun systems. We'll look at that later when we look at the gun room.
Tom, we're inside the powder flat, number 2 turret on Big Mamie right now. Beautifully restored, really impressive. You really get an idea of how small we are in the mammoth size of Big Mamie. This kind of shows you the big and Big Mamie. Can you tell us a little bit about, this is like the end sequence for the powder now before it goes up into the gun. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at and what's going on inside here of the powder flat?
You got it, Rich. Now you're inside the powder flat. This is the actual fixed structure and the rotating structure of the 16-inch gun. This is where all our powder bags come into play. Now, as you can see, as you look in here, we have immersion tanks. Because again, you still have to worry about the powder if an accident does happen in between transportation, where you have to immerse it so that it no longer becomes a problem. All right? Don't want to fire, don't want to accidental detonation. So you have, safety is always primary, no matter what. All right, now, if you look here at the powder passing scuttle, you see how the crew put on the red on the corner here? That's to indicate where the ignition pad goes. So that way you could take the powder when it comes out. Okay, there'd be a tray out here with latches. You take the bag, and the person would take that bag and go. Now, as you can see, these have sprinkler systems that will help here and here, all these holes. It's not to flood initially, it's to cool, bring down the temperature, and stop any sparking or arcing.
So it's really just a pipe bomb with holes drilled in the bottom.
Yep. And when it's under pressure, fans out and cools. It's not to flood. If you want to flood, you just break open the main and let it pour in, but you want to spread it out in a mist so that way you prevent floating sparks or
Keep the
fire.
turret in action, right?
And if you could, but when you light that off, there's a bilge underneath here in the rotating structure to take water, but once you light it off, it's pretty much end of game. You don't want to do that, but you don't want to damage the turret and prevent it from becoming operational again in a short time. So the idea is just to cool. You wouldn't do it, this wouldn't be like a bed and bath. It's going to flood, there's a reason why, and you're not going to be operating this turret. The other turrets would take over. Now, with the immersion tanks here, the powder passing scuttles, there'd be a person operating, same drill, same enunciator, same thing. All right? Now, when you have everyone here in the powder flat, you have 20 or 30 guys operating in here because you have one person per scuttle. Then you have to put the manpower to get the guns loaded, okay? These are the powder hoist, all right? Now, the powder hoist, you have to put this in perspective. Where are your guns pointing? Now, here, forward is this way. So when you put the powder into the gun, the ignition pad, as you can see, is right here. So normally there'd be a red bullseye here, something we have to update. The other turrets, we went back and found out there'd be a red bullseye here. Some ships painted it differently. But you had to do that because you can get disoriented in here. You've got 20 or 30 guys in here humping powder and moving in a cycle. So it has to be quick reference. You're picking this thing up. This is 100 pounds. This guy's coming up here, and he's starting a train, and he drops him in. Each person is doing it. Now, you see this pipe is part of the sprinkler system as well. Now, this is in here. There's a powder door. It's a flash door. It's sealed. This is, you would load this up, pretty ready to go. There'd be a man inside the powder hoist in there watching to operate the hoist doors. Okay, so that way you could roll these bags in. Now, once your powder handler puts the bag here, he just doesn't go back. He has to run all the way around in one direction. Everybody's moving in one direction, so there's no tripping, there's no running over somebody. They have to come back and start the cycle again. So he comes over to his station, grabs the next powder, because now you got to remember, what lot do you have? That's the petty officer in charge of the powder flat. He has to designate and watch the numbers come in. That goes to left gun, that goes to center gun, this one goes to there. So you've got somebody orchestrating this whole thing.
Oh, I see. So actually what you're saying is these are actually labeled here, right?
Right.
Center.
Center gun, left gun. Because your turret is facing this way. So picture this thing turning and operating. Okay?
And that does turn where you are.
Right, this whole section turns, and when this turret fires, boom. This whole thing moves, and you want nothing in there, because that's going to bounce in there a little bit. You can crush things in there.
Wow.
So these are your guns, these are your powder hoists, and this here is the sprinkler system for the inner turret system. Now the problem you have here is, how does the water get to this station? This riser right here, this is another safety issue here that you have to keep in mind as you're moving the ammunition. There is a 2.5-inch fire hose that's sprung out and done in an S pattern in here that hooks up to here. This supplies the water to the upper turret. Because there's no flexible coupling, because this turret moves so much, you have to have a flexible hose to take the shock during firing all the time, and the firing pressure completely charged. So now you have a hose. Now picture this turret turning this way, all the way this way. This hose is moving like a snake. Now you got people taking powder bags in the middle of the barrel, fighting. Boom, put it in. You're carrying 100 pounds. So now you got to use your dexterity, keep your eyes open, keep moving, focused. That's why you see in a movie, nobody's talking, nobody's jerking out. Why? You don't have time for that. One slip up, you can cause an accident. Boom! Something goes wrong, somebody's seriously hurt, or you catastrophically hurt the ship. So you got to concentrate. Word is silence. You don't say anything. If there's an accident or problem, you see something, silence! You scream it out. Why? It's a key word. Silence. Shut up, stop, freeze. Because you may be stepping on granules of powder. You may be causing damage to the ship. So that person stops. If he sees the problem, he identifies the problem, tells the petty officer in charge, clear the problem, get back to work. You're in the middle of a battle. You don't have time to screw around. It's do the job. Training kicks in. You run with it. Again, boom, cycle. Now you remember, you're doing 20 seconds per round, each one of these guns. Because now you got to come in here. If you had these, put them down. I can't roll it out. But you'd put them here, you'd roll them in, and what would happen is, the last person put the bag in, he would look at the guy in the hoist, and he would tell him, because you got motors and everything going, you can't hear anything down here without yelling. And you want to keep the conversation down to a minimum. So you give a hand signal to the guy inside there, powder bags are rolled in, close the doors. Closes the doors in there, I'll show you in a bit. He closes them, up it goes, next powder guys come in. Drop set out, because the ignition pad's got to go back here, the gun's firing this way. So then again he starts, goes around again. And here we go, the cycle continues. All right, so you have all this, and again, here you have a breakdown of the sprinkler systems for the fixed structure that's worked electrically in case you have to flood it, which you don't want to do, but it's there. And there you go.
So
this cycle continues.
So we're getting quite the exercise trying to chase you around turret to powder
And
flat.
there you go.
But I just wanted to point out that I'm standing down here and I'm looking up. And if we pan up, how high does this powder go up? I mean, we're going 35, 40 feet to this one.
You're going up there. You're talking a 5-story turret. We're basically almost at the lowest point of the ship where the triple bottom kicks in.
This is really engineering.
These are marvels of design because you got to remember this thing's transversing at, I think it's 5 degrees per second at maximum drive.
And this was all designed in the late 1930s?
20s.
1920s. And
1920s into the 30s as a turret design, and you learn from each experience, each design. The first Massachusetts battleship, BB-2, was a dinosaur compared to this thing.
she was a pre-dreadnought, right?
Pre-dreadnought.
Right.
She wasn't a real battle. She was an iron battleship built in 1898, I think it was. Designed and built in a few years earlier. 1896 designed, built, and commissioned in 1998. But she had bag guns as well, but they didn't super elevate. They didn't train as much. It was a third of the size of this ship. The armor wasn't as thick, as durable. Her engineering was marvels against, say, the Constitution. Leaps and bounds, but Massachusetts BB-2 compared to BB-59, generations change in learning. But it's a gun system, it works, this whole thing moves, trains, stories. This one turret, I'll tell you from the base of this up, is the weight of a single destroyer. So Kennedy we have here is equal to the weight of one battleship turret.
Kennedy is no slouch. She's the largest class of World War II fleet destroyer the United States made.
5,000 tons, right?
3,000.
3,000?
Yeah.
So she's equivalent of a Martin destroyer in today's Navy.
Amazing. Amazing.
Just one turret. And that's why these ships were built to service these. These were the nuclear weapons of the time. This is the powder flats. This is where our bag powder comes in, and these hoists go up. Now let's see which one I can open up and show you. Here's your hoist operator for the lower part.
The hoist operator booth now? Is that what,
You could call it a powder hoist operation station.
it looks in great condition. It looks like it was just built yesterday.
They're in good condition because you don't get much water down there. A few things are missing, but this is where he would operate. He had a sound-powered phone set up, buzzer and bell that would be rung down from the turret booth. They had to communicate him because he's got his phones on, but you got everything operating, so he can't tell. So this car track goes all the way straight up to the gun room. So this dummy car with 2 levels, he has a lever here as part of the electrical circuit that is tripped as the car comes up and down. So that way electrically it knows, it tells the panel up above where the powder car is. Now, that door you see here is by these handles. And this handle closes the door. Now if you go out to the other side, you can see the doors should be closed, right? Okay, so as you see me, you give me the sign to open the doors. I open the doors, they roll the powder in, I close the doors. That's part of a flame seal that protects any fire or damage from up above spreading down here into the magazines. So this would be your lower operating station. As you can see, the door is a flame seal. In actual operations, this would be closed. Because that guy's stuck in there. So if anything happens there, most likely he'll die, but it'll protect the rest of the ship. You can't let the flame get through here. That's why there's such redundancies of blocking any flame progression to our magazines. So this is the turret powder flattener.
So Tom, we have gone through the powder flats on upper magazine, a lower magazine. We've seen how the powder bags go from that magazine into here and up all the way into this behemoth of a gun turret of number 2 into the turret. I'm sorry. So I have to tell you, I'm amazed. It's a remarkable engineering feat. Now I know you guys do behind the scenes gun tours, and a lot of the visitors can come and check this stuff out for yourself. Maybe Tom will put you on the exercise regime that we just had running around the powder flat here. But Massachusetts is really an amazing marvel, and we strongly urge everybody to come out and visit this. I mean, the projectile flats that we talked about in our last episode, the powder flats here today, it's in remarkable condition. You know, Tom works very hard to restore this gun system on this ship. We're very honored to have him. Our volunteers are great. Please, if you're passionate about Battleship Massachusetts or Battleship history, like, subscribe, share. A lot of you have asked us, how can we help Big Maine when we don't live very close? Share our videos, share our history. You can donate. We're looking for pieces of equipment. We're looking for historical literature. You can send that to us. We're a family here at Battleship Cove. We're America's Fleet Museum. We have more naval ships than any museum in the world. Please come down, like, share, subscribe, become part of our family. And Tom, we look forward to doing some more videos with you in the near future.
Happy to do so. Come if you want. If we get our tours back and running, step on up, come on down, participate, we'll take you through some of the places here and then some, because it's a behind-the-scenes tour. We get more in depth. We get into places that you normally can't see, but we can't make that generally to the public because there's safety concerns, and we have to take you through and be careful. A few at a time, too many, we don't want nobody to get hurt. Enjoy the ships, enjoy your history. This is our Navy history.
And that's why this is Battleship Cove Inside the History Series, because we're in areas that we normally don't go on public tour. Thanks for watching, and we'll check you out next time.
Take care.